Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. I mean, everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous. From presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. Today, I'm proud to introduce you to James Wohl, an accomplished attorney who lives his life by the adages taught to him by his parents and their parents before them. Honesty is the best policy. A promise made is a debt unpaid. And look before you leap. It sounds like some pretty smart advice. Counselor, I'm glad to welcome you to the Star Treatment.
I'm very, very happy to be here, and especially looking at that beautiful smile and having the opportunity to have some fun in my afternoon.
Well, I like that also. Anytime I can talk to a fellow lawyer is a good day for me. So, why don't we start right there? What inspired you to dedicate yourself to the legal profession?
About three-quarters of the way through college, I decided that I was taking engineering and I wanted to learn more about how my knowledge of engineering could be melded into a situation where I could actually build things. So I decided maybe law school would be interesting. And so I sent out some letters. This was way back in the annals of history. I sent out some letters to different schools. And I thought I was sending a letter to Stamford, Connecticut, but it turned out to be Stanford, California, Stanford University. And that was the start of my law school adventure.
That seems like a pretty interesting mistake and one that probably inured to your benefit. So, as an attorney, or I should say a fellow attorney, I love the criminal law. I love constitutional law. But what are your specialties?
My real bottom line specialty is honesty. Okay. That was drilled into me by my wonderful, wonderful dad, who was a lawyer, but he was everything was, as he used to tell me, you're going to have wood shop, Jimmy, and you have everything smooth, straight, and square on a block of wood, and you live your life that way. And I like everything honest. And 5 years ago, Sylvester Stallone's mom put something on Facebook that was the greatest thing that had ever happened to me in my life. And she had on Facebook, James Wohl, the only honest lawyer I ever met. And
What
Jackie
a
Stallone,
what a nice
she,
compliment that is.
the best thing, I never asked for these things. I just could not believe it. Of course, I took myself off Facebook and I expected to get subpoenaed and have her subpoenaed, but no, everything worked fine.
That's wonderful.
Wonderful.
But seriously, I really would love to know what areas of law you worked in that really, um, launched your career and gave you that longevity.
And that's fair. Um, Basically, I like anything that is interesting intellectually. I have two patents. I basically fathered the modern cellular telephone. I like interesting things. I've built buildings, but the best thing I like to do is to build a good case. And what I'm interested in are cases that have some intellectual merit to them, that aren't just people arguing yes, no, I don't know, I don't remember, the usual run of the mill stuff. I like things with interest. So I do a lot of um, cases for elder abuse cases. I do a lot of medical malpractice cases. I do a lot of legal malpractice cases. Um, Basically, things that involve something that is going to really take me into an area to learn something and be able to teach a trier of fact what truth is rather than conjecture.
Very good indeed. So I guess that begs the question, what personal qualities do you think make you an effective attorney?
Again, the only thing that makes me effective is being able to convey truth in a truthful manner to people who are ready to accept the truth. And I've practiced, I'm licensed in New York, Hawaii, and California. In Hawaii, the practice of law is completely different. If you're not a reasonably honest lawyer, you don't get to practice law in Hawaii on any kind of regular basis. People get to know who you are, what you do, and dismiss you. In New York, it's probably middle of the road. In California,
The
it's
Wild West.
beautiful. Star, you are brilliant. And I moved here 41 years ago because one of my books, I used to write books, and I got a call from somebody wonderful in Hollywood who wanted to buy one of my books for a movie. And I moved here from Hawaii. Sure. And it made me a lot of money. And I couldn't believe the practice here, but it was the wild, wild west.
So James, I heard you say just a minute ago, and I don't know if you were joking or not, because I do know you're an inventor as well as an attorney. So now talk to me a little bit about your invention and how it came about, because I'm not going to just let that hang out there in cyberspace.
Well, I had I had moved here from Hawaii, and I was actually getting interesting cases because what I found when I was writing the screenplay for this movie, that the two things were evident here. Number one, the great weather, and number two, people were always fighting with each other in Los Angeles, which I didn't like in the beginning, but after a fairly short period of time, I found out that I could actually pick my clients and always pick the good guy. In other words, I was running my own movies. It's the good guys with the guns against the bad guys with the guns. So, which was really, really, I loved. So I decided to stay here. And so one day I was walking around, this is in sort of the late 80s, mid 80s. I was walking around. At that time, I had a cell phone in one pocket and a pager in the other pocket. You had to have two devices.
Absolutely.
Well, I had taken 3 years of engineering. And one thing I really liked was electronics. I was a ham radio operator also for a long time. And I built my own radios. And so I said, wouldn't it be great to just have one thing? Like you could call it a pager phone. And so I started a company. And a Japanese company gave me money to back me. And I brought in some really good guys that I knew in various professions that would be helpful, and made a patent application to the U.S. Patent Office for the pager phone. That was the end of 89, beginning of 90. It took 3 years to get the patent, but I got a patent. And it really was the progenitor for the modern cellular telephone. I was so tickled. The only thing I wanted was the patent. The money, I hate to say this, I had no interest in the money,
Oh, James. Oh, James. Oh, James.
but in order for me to really do this, I had to get the names of all the guys who'd been with me to help me make it, this vision, to make the vision come to life. I had to have their names on the patent. And I told the Japanese company, do what you want with it. And I think they made billions with it, but that was that invention.
Wow.
So you
Well,
can look
I can tell you this because of you, I'm connected at the hip with that, okay?
because of me, we are.
We are connected at the hip, as is everyone else on the planet at this point. You
Yeah,
know, I have to tell you, I've been reading about you. I started thinking of you as a Renaissance man. You've done so many different things and seem to have enjoyed pretty much every one of them you've had the opportunity to do. I'm also curious about some of the work that you've done in the community. That seems to be important to you also.
well, it has been, and along along the way, it falls in a lot of times from the environment.
Mhm.
When I lived in Hawaii, I was I love Hawaii. And I lived there for 15 years. 2 of those years, I lived on my boat in the Alawa Yacht Harbor in Honolulu. And I took my house out sailing with my kids on it. And it was wonderful. And my dog. And I got to be involved in some of the big buildings in Honolulu because the condominiums were just starting. So I got involved with community relations a lot because we built the first major condominium building in Hawaii, actually the first major condominium outside of Delaware. And then I used to build my own condominium buildings. So lined up with that, there were community aspects of it that were important. People, you want something that's going to fit in an ocean front, something that is going to be good for people to live in, good for people to be around, all of those aspects of it. And so I learned so much, and then took that learning and worked with the community so that I got amazing things done. I built the cable television system for the west side of the island of Hawaii. I've always been interested in electronics. This part goes on with the cellular phone. And so I got the opportunity to, there was no cable television in Kona and Waimea on the big island of Hawaii. So this was a lot of community activity because we're going to be up on their poles and things that really affect people. And so it's got to be done in the right way without being a lawyer, and about the training that I had at Princeton, where I took engineering, at Stanford, that gave me my 3 years. After only 3 years, they gave me my undergraduate degree without a fourth year of college, and they gave me my law degree. And you asked me how I actually became a lawyer, because when I got through with law school, I thought I really wanted to go on and go to medical school because of my family. My grandfather was a historically wonderful old time doctor. You never heard his name, never heard anything, but Harry Houdini was his. I don't know if you know him. He was a master, Harry Houdini.
Oh,
He was,
yes, absolutely.
well, I met Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and John Wayne. All of these great people used to come to my grandfather in his little office in the west side of Manhattan. And because he was just an amazing doctor, and I learned so many things from him.
You know, I was about to ask you, since you're talking about your grandfather, what role has your family played in your success, do you think?
It's not success. I'm still I have some wonderful, the most important thing to me, I've got 17 grandchildren, which is a lot of grandchildren. Of course, I had a lot of wives, and not even wives necessarily. Okay, but I am a very lucky man, and I've got a wonderful family. My family never gave me, do this, don't do that, here's how you do it. Nothing. No, no direction. No, I've only, as a matter of fact, I can't tell you the story because it's not going to go well on tape. But I only told one of my children one time that that child couldn't do something out of all of this life. But what I learned from my family was with controlled freedom, my kids could be anything and do it. One of my daughters is dean of admissions at Princeton. I've got a son who runs his company in Dubai. I've got one daughter who is a principal of a boys' school in New York. Another daughter who's been an 8th grade school teacher who's fought over for schools in her area in Northern California. My kids are wonderful, all because I let them go. But the things that they taught me was what did it, not how to do it, but why to do it. And my father's reading me the poems of Robert Service. The strange things done neath the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails hold their tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen strange sights, but the strangest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge. I cremated Sam McGee. From that poem came the most wonderful thing, because in that poem, Robert Service, who wrote it, has a line, "A promise made is a debt unpaid." That's part of my life.
What a beautiful foundation for everything that you have built with your family and with your profession. I heard you say that you were 84 years old, and I know that you are actually going back to school. Seems like, what, are you going to get that LLM now? As if you don't have enough things that you have done. But what are the plans for the future? What's next, sir, Mr. Renaissance Man?
Well, it's a hard thing to believe, but 41 years ago, when I moved to California, I had some people ask me to help them with something. And I did a lot of pro bono work. Pro bono, I don't know, for people watching this, pro bono means free legal work. And I still do. A lot of times I don't charge people if it's really interesting. And these people told me they had a gold mine. I said, there are no gold mines in Southern California. We got a gold mine. So I said, I'll help you with that. Well, that was 41 years ago. And over that 41 years, my father had taught me never go into partnership with a client. And they wanted me to be their partner, and they wanted me to be their partner. After about 4 or 5 years of helping them, they said, we can't take your money or your time anymore, because I was having a great time. And if you're not our partner, we're going to get rid of the mine. And I said, well, I can't do that, so I'll be your partner. Then, because I put so much into it, I had huge amount of the stock in the company. And so I told them, look, here's the deal. We've got a company. We have shares of stock. But if we ever sell anything, as soon as I get back the money I put in, we're 50-50. I am not going off that because I'm not going to hurt my dad. And they went, oh, so sweet. They're still my partners after 41 years. So
That's wonderful.
And it's turned out to be something incredible. It's up here 40 minutes from my house. And it's called the Red Rover Mine. And it was named after its owner at that time in the late 1800s, early 1900s, Governor Gage, who was the 10th governor of the state of California, and it was named after his dog, Red Rover. And it has turned out to be wonderful. And so I'm going to be doing mining soon.
Renaissance Man Part 2. I tell you, I tell you. Okay, James, we're coming to an end, but I can't let you go without asking you, what's the one thing you'd like the viewer of this video feature to walk away with?
How neat you are. And how it is actually possible for two lawyers to talk about everything and nothing for 20 minutes or so and never have a bad word between them.
No discourse whatsoever. Enjoy a conversation. People don't do that enough.
I couldn't agree with you more. The thing that matters to me most, my grandchildren, everybody I've ever been with, my friends, and that's what counts. All of the rest of the stuff, money comes from somewhere, and I don't want to be too cute about it. I'm a great believer in God and good-naturedness and everything that means something to man, but friendship and honesty are critical.
I couldn't agree with you more. I live my life by a certain set of core values, and integrity and authenticity are chief amongst them. So thank you so very much for bringing both of those things with a whole lot of humor to our conversation today. It's a pleasure to have met you, sir.
This is such a gift for me. I can't even tell you. And today is wonderful because not only of that acceptance from Pepperdine, but this meeting you is just absolutely smashing. Thank you.
I feel the exact same way. Have a great day.